A global namaste to you all. A very good morning, a very good afternoon, and a very good evening, wherever you're watching us today from. Welcome. My name is Nishit Kotak. I'm here with the team from Hindu Academy. And if you're new to the broadcast, then let me just briefly explain what we are doing and how this broadcast will run. So the team from Hindu Academy are here to answer a Q&A session, any questions you may have on the topic of Hinduism. This broadcast will run for about 50 minutes or up to an hour maximum. And we will start with a focus topic. Today's topic being the significance of fasting and rituals. And we're going to touch upon Shravan Maina, which is the current holy period that we are all going to be having soon. So to get started with this, we're going to watch a little video. This is from Jay Bhai, and then once we're done with the video, we will come back and do a question and answer session around it.
Look, remember, the magnanimous nature we must develop. We must recognize different people have different starting point in their journey, in their personal journey. Because some have been brought up in a particular culture, particular religion, and the only way they can relate to life and making sense of the world is through these temple bodies, God, etc. Am I here to demolish that? No, this is their way. They are unfolding, and they're saying, oh, I love this bhajan, go for it. Like katha, go for it, but watch it. Your children may not follow you. And you see, provided you understand the limitation of these enterprises, then you are safe. But you think, no, this is it, you don't believe in it, you're going to, then it doesn't work. You know, Gujarati ma, karwanu ne thapat, it doesn't work anymore. Guaranteed. If some of the most religious people come to me and say, Mr. Lakhani, my son or daughter doesn't want to come to the temple. I said, no way. So I said, I said, let them grow up in their own way. Let them discover spirituality in the form that appeals to them. Don't impose your way on them. Then you are safe. This openness must be cultivated, but at the same time, look, we must be magnanimous. If I truly love humanity, a huge portion of humanity is devoted to the idea of God and religion, and that is how they are unfolding or making sense of the human condition. They need a God to hang on to, a hook to hang their ideas on. Why should I take it away? Because they'll be completely lost then. So ask them to develop from where they are. So they will say, now, why should I fast? So they come and ask me, I say, tell you why. From time to time, you must show that you are more than an animal. Animal cannot fast. You put food and go, he'll eat. You are human. So show you that you are more. Show your dignity that I am more than the body. I say, body, shush, no food today. Not because you are trying to starve yourself, but to show yourself your own dignity, to reveal your dignity. I can control. That is why I say people fast. They say, oh, in that case, that makes sensible. See, always give honest and sensible answers whenever the youngsters ask you any question about religion or other matters. Always don't give them a waffle, they'll search you out straight away. Give them an honest answer.
Free e-learning course in Hinduism. To register, please visit www.hindu-academy.com.
Talks on Hinduism. Sponsored by People Care. Encouraging caring for the elderly in their own homes. For more information, please visit peoplecare.com.
Fabulous. So there we have it. What an interesting topic. And this is really an interesting time of the year. So according to the Hindu calendar, this is one of the holiest months, when compared to all other months. And it generally is the 5th month of the Hindu calendar, comes between July and August. But before we get carried on with other stuff, let me just quickly welcome the rest of my team here. We have got full house today. Welcome Manish Bhai, welcome Sita Ben, welcome Vijay Bhai. I hope you're all eager and excited to discuss about Shravan Maina, or Shravan Mas as it is also known. But why was it named Shravan or Shravan?
Vijay, do you want to have a go on that?
Not actually sure exactly why it's named Shravan, but I've heard a lot of stories about like Shravan. But I know we have also months named after special
I
bodies as well.
I
For-
read
Yeah.
that it is derived from the name of it's called Shravan Nakshatra, you know, the stars.
Yeah, yes, stars. Yes,
It's
yes.
based on that. It's because it's this time of the year that the devotees will be then, you know, offering their respects and doing the rituals to the Shivalinga and so on.
So I'm aware of that. You know, Indian calendars are based on the astral stars, but I wasn't sure of that. Thanks for that, Nishit Bhai. So
Yeah,
by the way, the months are named around that kind of idea. So okay,
fantastic.
interesting. Yeah.
So just for the viewers who are watching us today, let me just explain the Shravan, the month of this period that we're talking about actually starts on the 14th of July, and then it ends on the 12th of August. So we're still in the middle of the month, and there are very important certain dates and things that happen during this month. So Manish bhai, over to you. Let's dig deeper into this wonderful time of the year.
Thank you, Nishat. Growing up in India, I came across this Shravan month considered very holy. And I had two grandmas with me. So, and they talked about it, and they would do fasting on certain days, and there will be some of these festivals like Sitala Satam and Randan Chat and all this wonderful stuff happening. And, nowadays I come across people, some of them are meat eaters and they wouldn't eat meat in Shravan month. Some people would fast or just eat once a day in Shravan month. And all these austerities happen. And what is the significance behind it? I haven't actually investigated myself. So if you could enlighten us, Vijay bhai.
Okay, so I think that is true actually, Manish. I have it the same when I was growing up with my mother saying, "A Shravan month, you must do this, you must fast, you must give up something." So by and large, I mean, I think it's linked to many mythological stories. I think one of them is Parvati doing penance to marry Shiva and kind of, please Shiva and marry him. There's another story about Samudra Manthan, I think, as well. So by and large, there's so many mythological stories linked to the month of Shravan. As I think Jay has mentioned in previous videos, most of the things we do either linked to some sort of a mythological event, a seasonal event, right, or historical event. So this one of that, it's got a lot of mythological events tied to it. You'd be surprised, even in my Swaminarayan friend, I know that Shravan month is very important. They actually especially have image of Shiva in the mandir. People can, offer bilwa leaves or milk. So it's done that as well. And Somar as well. People stay Somar. But from what I know, what I was told is even before the Shravan month starts, till Diwali at least, you tend to give up something. Like, whatever you give up, what you like best, try and give up. Or you give up things which grow at that time or in your farm. Like, if you have aubergines or something, and you only eat it after Shravan month is finished, perhaps Diwali is finished, and after offering to God as the first harvest, and then you have it. So there's a lot of links saying that, things you like or things which are, you always want to do it offer to God first. So in a way, it's like a sacrifice, a discipline as well. And one thing that Jay mentioned is very interesting is that, nowadays, if you notice, there's so many movements saying we should do intermittent fasting, not eat all the time. The idea that we must have 3 meals a day is actually not true because, I mean, even evolution, if you look at evolution, which is basically a fact now, and people can't deny that, in the olden days, man ate at certain points in time, and they didn't have food for a day, or at least for many, many hours, they had no food. So the idea that we must have 3 meals a day and eat as much as it doesn't work. Actually, it's not even right. So in many ways, by doing this, we're actually looking after our body because it's tuned to a biological structure of the body. So giving us certain things, eating at certain times, or not eating one day, like whole of someone, not eating anything, is actually got very many health benefits. But when you link it to a kind of a religious event, it's got even more power, right? And I know my mother used to say to me, you should do this. And I was always getting frustrated. Why? I really never like it. Why is he making me? When you're young, you love certain foods and you're giving up. But now that I'm older, I can see that this got more than just the mythological benefits. So now I do it more for the other reasons. But by and large, it's still a good thing because, you know, as you say, anything you sacrifice for something higher, for like health, discipline, a reminder of God, all this is actually a good thing in that sense. Yeah. So that's all I can add to that. Sita Ben.
Yeah, no, I think you've covered it amazingly. So fasting is a real sort of important part of the ritual sort of aspect of it. The important thing to remember is it's not a hard and fast rule. So if you don't want to or you can't for any reason, it doesn't make you any less of a Hindu whatsoever. So it's something that's very personal to you. It's a way that you can show your devotion to a particular deity like Shiva or Parvati or whoever it is. And it's a way of showing self-control. As Dad was saying in the video, it shows that we're not just animals. We just don't see any old food that's put in front of us. We have some kind of discipline and self-control. And that's good for us physically as well as mentally, because it's a hard thing to do sometimes if you're particularly hungry and you've kind of made this decision to do a fast. But at the end of it, you feel good about it. And I think it's something that all sort of religious traditions around the world have some aspect of, fasting as well. You have Lent, you have Ramadan, you have all of these festivals around the world which have a similar way of thinking, that we like to sort of cleanse ourselves, purify ourselves, make sure that we're not just eating and drinking anything and everything that we can get hold of. It's a chance for us to take a step back from our physical wants and needs and think about something higher. And that's essentially what especially Shravan month is all about. There are so many festivals around this time of year. We've got Raksha Bandhan coming up, we've got Janmashtami coming up, we've got all of these wonderful festivals which celebrate human relationships between brother and sister. They also celebrate the relationship between normal people and God as Krishna. So there's lots of wonderful festivals at this particular time of year. And it's also a time in India where you have the monsoon and the rains and everything as well. So there's a lot of things sort of tied in to this particular time of year, and it's very special. And we celebrate it the way that suits us the best.
That's wonderful to hear, Sita Ben, Vijay Bhai. As Sita Ben mentioned, there are many festivals, and Raksha Bandhan and Janmashtami being the major ones. There is this Satam called Shaitala Satam, dedicated to Shitala Mata, especially in Gujarat. So all these wonderful festivals happen. And what we see, as Sita Ben mentioned, is there is idea of holy month, where whole month is considered very pious, very holy, and people are, asked to concentrate on God and, religion and be good and fast and all this. How is that helpful, Sita Ben? Have a holy month that you concentrate on spirituality?
It's all very well and good in a very idealistic world to say that every day is special, which it is. Every single day is special because you should treat every sort of moment as being divine. It's an opportunity to do something good in the world. But because we're human beings, we sometimes fall into the trap of just falling into our daily routine, just going to work and just focusing on materialistic aspirations, because there is a need for it. We need food in the house, we need clothes, we need to pay our bills. But we also need to make sure we don't forget the other very essential part of our development and our growth, which is our spiritual inheritance, essentially. So although every day, ideally, we should be having these spiritual goals and aspirations, sometimes we need a bit of a prod as humanity. Sometimes we just sort of fall into the trap of just focusing on materialistic goals. So having a month where we say, oh, this is a very special month, I must go to the temple more this time, I must pray or worship my particular deity more at this time, it gives us something to focus on. Because if we don't, there's a risk that we become very scattered and we forget the years and months, they just roll by, and then we're suddenly old people and we look back at our lives and we said, okay, yes, we may have done these lovely holidays and got a nice house, but what have I done for my spiritual development, my spiritual growth? So it's wonderful to have a period of time. And Hinduism, we're very lucky. We've got not just the Shravan month, we've got festivals throughout the year, which help us say, look, this is a special time of year. I'm going to do something productive for my own spiritual development. And the wonderful thing is, it doesn't even need to be just about you and about your fasting. You can take that as an opportunity to do something for the greater good, for the community. You may want to donate money. You may want to do something charitable. You may even want to go on pilgrimage, or any of these wonderful things that you can choose to do at these special times of year. Vijay?
I think Sita, you have got it beautifully. I think that's the main idea, that if every day is special, after a while it loses its potency. You can't, if you told to every day you must do this kind of penance, I can't be bothered. But if you give it, like, say, 1 month, if it's okay, I'll try it out, and then at least you change of mind. It's okay, I've been living this life, for the last 10 months, I'm kind of bloated, eating too much, and let me try this. Then you got to focus, right? So in a way, it's always good to have these special days marked out. I mean, it happens in any tradition, like we have, I don't know, Easter, in any religious, not only Hinduism, you have these special times, when you do certain things, or they have a Lent period. It's same in Hinduism, the Shravan month. So by marking Shravan, it was okay. 1 month, then after 1 month, really eager to have what you're sacrificing. So in a way, it's a good way to put a special focus at certain times of the year. Because ultimately, we're all human. I mean, we don't want to do this all the time. Unless you're highly spiritual and highly developed, then maybe yes, it's the Shravan month for you every year. Every month is Shravan month. But by and large, for most of us, it's not the case. So I think it's good to have certain periods when you focus certain periods, then you chill a bit. Yeah. So, Manish, bye.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vijay Vai, Sitaven. Mr. Raj Kanakia is saying, shall we fast to understand the pida of poor people, of underprivileged society, and less consumption of food will, get you focus on your spiritual developments, right? We shall consume less. Paral is saying, okay. So the idea to, fast to understand, plight of poor people. Is that something, do we ever do that? Do we ever try to understand the plight of poor and hungry people? Sitaven?
Yeah, I think it's something that, we need to always keep in the back of our minds all the time through every sort of activity we do. And essentially, spiritual living is not just thinking about me and my small little life and my little house and all of that. It's about thinking about the other. That's essentially what spirituality is all about. So right at the heart of Hindu philosophy, we've got the reason as to why we should care, why we should look after those around us, the underprivileged, the people who are not as lucky as us in that sense to have all of their necessities met. So any opportunity that we have, we should use that as a chance to do something for somebody else. And with the attitude not of being, oh, I am so great and grand and I'm going to throw some crumbs at you. That's the most degrading and denigrating thing that you can do. See it as seva, see it as I'm lucky enough to have the opportunity to serve my God in my fellow human being. That's the best attitude to have, because it rubs away all sense of ego and pride, because it's the most natural thing that we can do if we see the same spirit that's in me is also in you. It's the most natural thing to lend a helping hand and do something for that person. So at the heart of Hindu philosophy, we've got the reason for ethics and morality, and any opportunity that we have. It doesn't have to be during any particular special month or time of the year. Any chance where you think, I must do something, we must do it, and really put it into action, not just talk about it, but actually physically do it in whatever way suits us the best. It could be time, it could be money, it could be just holding somebody's hand when they're feeling down. So there's so many ways that we can help, and we are lucky to be in that position to be able to serve our fellow human beings. Vijay Bhai?
So I think, Sita, you've got it pretty nicely, because I mean, the thing is this, that while it may be true, because I know that happened to me when I was young and I didn't used to fast. And then of course, mother said, look at all these people, they've got nothing to eat. Try and see how it feels, So I said, okay, but that's not I think the thing is, you should keep it in mind all the time, because we're so conditioned to seeing this on TV or we hear all this time. After a while, we become indifferent to it. And that's the trickiest, hardest thing to do, because as Sita said, you got to always remember these are divine spiritual beings, and always try and keep in your mind back in your mind that this is actually the living God. It's something you should do all the time. But it's true that quite often we forget. And if it helps you with fasting to do so, then I guess it's a good thing. But having said that, if you look at like the Sikh tradition, they don't believe in fasting. They believe if you fast, when you're starving, you think about yourself only, you don't worry about anybody else. So you're not sure about that. But by and large, I think the idea of thinking about suffering of the poor people, that's something, time and again, if you look at all the Jay Bai's lecture, this is a theme he covers continuously all the time. This is something we keep in our mind all the time. And the other thing which Sita mentioned, very interesting, is the idea of throwing breadcrumbs. If you see some poor people, get them something that you also eat. Sometimes, I'll just throw a few pennies. Treat them the same as you treat yourself, right? And I've seen this quite often. I've noticed that sometimes when you have guests come into your house, you give them like, I don't know, some concentrated juice. At home, you have something else. And people do all these distinctions, right? Because they always have this understanding. But the real way of helping somebody else is think divine and treat them as your equal in what you give, what you do, and then you really feel better about yourself. So by and large, I would say at this particular question which Raj has raised, yes, it may help some people, but I think we should cultivate in our mind to think about poor all the time.
Fabulous. So we've had quite a nice discussion around the topic. Just to wrap it up, we may look into a few things regarding this period of time. For those of you who are watching us, maybe not aware exactly, how this holy period came about, what's it all involving. So according to Hindu legend, there was a conflict between the Devas and the Asuras. And during this time, there was poison that emerged in the water. And Lord Shiva drank the poison to save the human race. And this incident is said to have taken place during this period of Shravan Maina. And because of drinking the poison, Lord Shiva's body temperature was said to have gone up. And he then donned the moon on his head. And then the sort of the Hindu gods then poured Ganga Jal, and then Lord Indra said, let it rain, so to get the body temperature down. So that's basically why you have the ritual that is still followed, especially on Mondays, of honoring Lord Shiva and pouring water over the shivling, etc. So that's very interesting. So a couple of quick questions I've had. What's the kind of fasting that people do in this period?
Okay, so I think again, as Sita mentioned earlier, you can choose for yourself. There's no specific rule. Some people will do, like a grain fast, not have any grains. And as Manishbhai mentioned, some people who eat meat will say, I won't eat any meat all of Shravan. I know one or two people like that. They will not touch any meat during the month of Shravan. So you can choose what you want. Some people say for Mondays, I'll not eat anything all of Monday, just drink some sip of water. Whatever I guess whatever suits you best is what you do. I mean, as I said, I think I mentioned earlier in our group that I've given a fried food for the whole month and white rice example. So you can choose for yourself whatever suits you best. But it's always good to give up something for something higher. That's all I can add to that, Sita.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's completely, as Vijay said, it's totally personal. You can choose what kind of fast that you want to do. And it reminds me of Janmashtami. In Janmashtami, you say that you only eat fruits and roots, basically. So, you can have all the fruits and, roots, basically. So potatoes and vegetables like that. So, yeah, every sort of festival has different sort of guidelines, and you just sort of personalize it to what you think would sort of benefit you the most, I guess.
So apart from just fasting as for the sake of, abstaining from something for yourself, like, Jay Bai said, it's for you to show that you're in charge over your body. But I'm sure there must be some scientific benefits of fasting. That's why our ancient Hindu sages have recommended it so often. So what would be some of the benefits of actually fasting, just generally, even after the festivals have gone?
Yeah, so I mean, there's of course, Nishita, has quite a few benefits. As I mentioned earlier, primarily health benefits. As it is today, I don't know if you have noticed, but no matter where you look, at least in England, there's food everywhere, right? You pass by a shop, there's a cake shop, there's a shop of mithai, sweet shop. You just can't avoid it. And when you pass, it's in your mind, oh, that, those kachuris will go down really well if I can have a few of those, right? And it's just in your mind. So how do you discipline yourself? But thing is, look, as I said, our body is not designed to eat lots of food. It's designed to be, evolutionary. We don't to have food in our face all the time. But now we are faced with the situation, we have abundance in that sense. In a way, it's good. We don't have to worry about food, what's going to be tomorrow on your plate. But in some ways, it's like, going overboard. So of course, a lot of health benefits by and large. And have you noticed, not only for food, but many other things, the rishis of India, ancient India, when they put release angle to it, people tend to follow. When you just mention it, it doesn't work. I'll give you a very interesting example. In Gujarat, I think the doctors are trying to ban people from having gudka, this tobacco thing. And all these doctors put ads, doctors are giving on TV, nobody bothered. And I think the chief minister at the time was, I think Modi was chief minister. He called all the religious leaders together first. All of you come here, right? And he told them, now go to congregation and talk about this. And immediately dropped by like 80% because the religious people, they brought this religious angle to it, right? And suddenly people said, oh yeah, it's not good because God is not happy or something. And people follow it. And that's a reality, right? So in many ways, it may have general battle benefits, but if you put religious angle to it, people tend to listen. If your month of Shravan is very holy, if you do this, you get so many brownie points from Shiva, people will do it, right? So I think that's the idea. But by and large, all these things have benefit. I know in month of Shravan, as a Nishipa, I don't know if you know, but people take, some vows saying that, okay, this time I'll do X number of mantras of Shiva. I'll read X number of hours every day, this many chapters. I do all these other things as well. So by and large, the fact that it's linked to holy month and that you get more punya, that really drives people a lot, which in a way is like I would say, a strategy to sell this idea, but still a good thing, I think. Yeah. So many benefits with all these activities we do, discipline, so body discipline, and I think by and large today the biggest problems we have and the highest cost that the country is facing is health. Health is a very big issue. So if you can give up, say, meat for 1 month, or give up, alcohol, or whatever your level of development is, whatever your society come from, then if you do all this stuff, there's also benefits to the entire state, the whole society at large as well, not just an individual. So you may think it's only for us individual, but ultimately there's a bigger benefit for society at large as well. Sita?
This is very brilliant because we say Hinduism is a very evolved society. Hindus are in a very evolved society. So if I tell you now the concept of gamification, you'd click it instantly.
Okay, I would
because we are in the modern world, everything is gamified. But it looks like they gamified religion for us as well.
Yes, in a way you can say that. Yeah. Sita, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. If you think about it, you get all of these sort of secular fads and diets and this kind of keto diet and this diet and that diet, and it's done purely in the name of secularism. It purely in the name of getting a fitter and healthier body so you can live longer, enjoy more materialistic things in life. And that's totally, that's your prerogative. That's totally up to you. But it's wonderful that sort of religions, not just Hinduism, but all religions around the world have this element of trying to exert discipline on ourselves, which is good for us mentally, but also good for us physically as well, because just abstaining from fatty foods or oily foods or certain kinds of foods which may not be particularly beneficial to us can actually have long-term health benefits if it's something that you continue to do regularly.
Amazing. So we're going to wrap up this Q&A section here. We'll go into general Q&A very shortly. But before I do that, I'd just like to give a quick shout out to some of our regular viewers here. We got Rahul, Tejashwara, we got Christine all the way from the US. We have got Ali here in the UK as well. We've got Charmaine. We've got Saurav watching us from Dubai. We've got Donald Trump, our regular viewer as well. We've got Jade Joy. We've got Sumit and many others, including one viewer who's watching us from Kuala Lumpur, where it's almost 10 o'clock at night right now. So thank you everybody for joining us, taking the time out of your day to be with us here today. Manish Bhai, back to you, and I will go and grab some questions from the viewers. Folks, you can get involved today by leaving your questions, your thoughts, and your comments in the chat area on whatever platform you're watching us today from.
Wonderful. Said by Ali Sebastian's requesting, saying, can we have a quote from Jay Lakhani sir for the week? Sitaben?
Sorry, what was the question? Sorry.
Jay Lakhani sir's quote she's asking for.
A quote from him.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. The only thing I can think of at the moment, there's just so many, that's why I can't even think right now. But one of them that really sort of springs to mind at the moment is, spiritual living is all about multiplying yourself and seeing yourself in others, expanding your vision of who you think you are to include everyone and everything around you. That kind of thing was something that he was very, very passionate about. Vijay Bhai, do you have any quotes?
No, all I can say, since I've been with Jay Bhai for almost 20 years, there's two things I've really picked up, which I really like. One thing is the idea of pluralism, which may sound very trivial, but the fact that we accept that all people are divine, that's the other point, the idea of seeing spiritual humanism. And the idea is that no matter where a person is in development, no matter where society is, they're all divine. So never put somebody's beliefs, somebody's ideas down. For him, it's the best one. And that kind of makes you understand. It's like, recently there was a very interesting point. People are saying that why do, people from the forest, like, we call them Vanvasis in India. Why do they worship trees? Why do they worship all these weird, strange beliefs, And then you think a bit, when you think from Jay Bhai's angle, you said, look, these people for hundreds of years, they've actually been nourished by those trees. They've been nourished by those, the forest. Who am I to even understand? I can't even understand. I'm an urban person. I can't even think at that level, right? So who am I to challenge that fight? For them, it's the best way. When you think like that, you tend to appreciate more and more diversity. And, the idea of everybody's different, everybody is unique. And that's a very good kind of message. And that message is so necessary in this day and age. Everybody's trying to dominate others with their beliefs. Despite, we know there's no way they can ultimately prove, but they want to dominate others. So key ideas of spiritual humanism, pluralism, seeing divinity in everybody else, very key messages. Originally also from Vivekananda as well. But there's a lot of other things we can talk about. We can talk forever about Jay Bhai in this course. Yeah, Manish Bhai. Yeah.
Wonderful to hear that, Sitaben, Vijay Bhai. We got a question from Sumit Barala. He's saying, why Brahma married his daughter Saraswati? Now, the first question I would ask to this question is, how did Brahma have a daughter Saraswati, if you're thinking in biological sense? But I'll let Vijay Bhai answer this one.
Okay, all I can say is that I've heard that story, but there are very many. Remember one thing, these are all Puranic stories. They're all strange stories written by a lot of people. They're written in hundreds of books. I think we have to be very careful not to put too much focus on this. But all I can say is that, first of all, is how you see it. It's not a physical relationship, by the way. If Brahma is creator of the universe, then we are all his children and daughters. Let's face it, without any mother in that sense, right? We are his creation, right? As a body, not as Atman, but as physical body, we see that. So in that sense, I think I've seen people trying to find very deeper meanings. I would say don't go into that. Take it for what it is. It's just a mythological story. But Saraswati is seen as somebody, as the mother of music, art, dance, and focus that kind of idea. You see all these stories coming up, So again, you say, how did it become a daughter in the first place? That's the question, right? I don't think it other kind of vibes as such. So how did they come into place in the first place? So please take it with a pinch of salt. It's very important. As you get so much stuck and wallowed in these Puranic stories, there are very many strange beads. Some are very erotic stories, some all kinds of strange stories. Don't go into that. Hinduism, again, once I mentioned, is not religion of the book. Quite often you see that a lot of other, Abrahamic faiths, we use all these strange quotes and say, you believe in this. No, we don't, right? We have a lot of these stories. It just happens that we still have kept them as part of a pantheon of literature, because people can analyze and see what kind of myriad beliefs we had. It doesn't mean that you have to take it literally. So keep that in mind, Sita.
Yeah, I mean, you've covered it perfectly. I mean, these are stories at the end of the day. Stories are stories, and there's no sort of higher philosophical, deeper meaning behind it. They are stories. And the reason why, I mean, some of them are wonderful, very attractive. Some of them are a bit weird and wonderful. And this is just because this is how humanity has evolved over time. It's just all accumulated the thinking and the thoughts of so many hundreds and thousands of people. So we have to make sure we don't take it literally. We just understand that these are stories and they are there for our enjoyment, and we pick and choose which stories we want to read to our children.
Wonderful answer, Sita Ben Vijay Bhai. We got a question from, not sure who. The question is prana and soul the same thing? Vijay bhai?
Okay, first of all, I think we have to be very careful. The word soul doesn't really fit in Hinduism. Although we keep on saying soul is the Atman, because in the Abrahamic tradition, soul is something that God creates out of his love. Atman is never created, Ajanmay. Prana is the life force, the force that actually, so by controlling the life force in you with prana breathing exercises, that kind of helps you focus inwards to realize a true Atman. So they're quite, in a way, linked to each other because Atman is also life force in that sense. But prana is the exercise on how to be rhythmic, have rhythm in such a way that we control the life force. When we control the life force, it actually helps us more discipline, helps in meditation, ultimately helps you to see your Atman. But having said that, there's a lot of other benefits. I mean, I've tried it once or twice. I'll be honest with you, I'm not good at that. But it actually distresses you. If you have this synchronized with your body, you sync your prana life force, and you focus on that only, or other thoughts will go away from your mind, all the stress, all the problems will go away. So it's tremendous benefits in that sense. In a way, it gives you time to focus on your spiritual development. But by and large, to me, they're not the same. One is the force that actually is linked to the Atman in that sense, but helps you realize the Atman. But it's a tricky question. I guess many people may have different views on this. Asita?
Yeah, and I think you've covered it amazingly. So prana is the life force, and that's why we have the term pranayam, which is controlling the life force, which is driving our lungs and our body to work. And we have the idea of Atman, which is the spirit and the soul. So we call it soul in English, as I said, but it's not an accurate sort of translation, really. So all of us are divine, all of us are spirit. But in a way, it sort of gets personalized when it's in our little physical body as the Jivatman. And the whole point of pranayam is to help us recognize beyond. We are not just the body, we're not something purely physical, we are something essentially spiritual. So using the prana or the life force can help us channel our energy and focus it on understanding that we are much more than the body and the mind. We are essentially the spirit.
That's wonderful to hear, Sita Ben. We take a next question from Ali Sebastian. She's saying, on the point of equality, a new Swaminarayan temple has opened in Oldham. However, I noticed that the men and women are kept separated in large room used for devotion. Should we divide people in such a way? Your point of view, please, Sita Ben.
Yes, so I mean, it's something that I've seen as well in Swaminarayan temples. And I think the whole purpose behind it is to basically say, when you are in a spiritual environment, make sure you don't focus on the idea of gender attraction, because if you're all sort of mixed together, then, you might sort of think, oh, that person looks nice, and you forget your focus is meant to be on something spiritual, something higher. So it's nothing to show, the inequality between men and women. It's just to say, let's focus all of our energy, all of our attention on something spiritual and not something material, is my understanding of it. Vijay bhai?
I can tell you a bit more because I am from the Swaminarayan faith. But what Sita covered is actually exactly the point. Just to keep in mind, if you ever look in the temples, in the kitchen, they work together. When they're cooking in the kitchen, they work together, men, women, they don't separate. Or when do other activities, like when they clean the temple or when they, working in the little gardens, men, women tend to work together. It's only when they focus on the spirituality that division is kept. But one thing to keep in mind is that there is no, that one room is bigger than the room. Actually, by and large, in the temple, I think the women have got bigger space. They need to go to temple more than men. But as Sita mentioned, the idea is to say that the Swaminarayan faith believe that to try and not get distracted by gender attraction is the reason to keep separate. But having said that, I know once my daughter challenged me, what if you're of the LGBT community, then what do you do? So I couldn't answer that one. But I think we have to keep one thing in mind in Hinduism in general. Hinduism has a diverse variety of beliefs, and it's important we respect those traditions from whatever angle they come from. Like there's a big hoo-ha about the Sabarimala temple, if you remember. And so people who are women from 16 to 50 can't go to temple. Who are we to decide that? There are some temples in India where men are not allowed at all because it's seen as, women. That's the beauty about India. They've got so many diverse beliefs, and we respect those traditions. It's not a question of, oh, I'm secular and why are these equal rights denied? Every tradition will have the own, kind of facets, right, or caveats. And the fact that we respect those caveats, no matter if you don't maybe you don't like them, that's a different story. But the fact you understand that it's tradition for them, it's okay. And that's, we should keep that in mind. Never ever, put, I mean, I'll give you another example. When I used to see these videos on, Nepal, when they sacrifice animals, I think the Gadaima or something, yeah. And I was horrified. I said, why are they doing that? The question is this: we have to keep very in mind that the different people have they've grown up different geographical areas, different historical. I mean, now it's stopped by the Nepalese government, and people themselves have given up, which is a good thing. Ultimately, people-driven changes are the best, rather than somebody imposing from the top. We have to keep that in mind. And all these diverse beliefs we have, it's a good thing. I mean, people have strange dress sense, strange tilaks, big tilaks. We have to understand Hinduism is unique because we allow all these different facets to exist in harmony. And that's what makes it so unique. So everything has got a reason for their own benefit. You may not understand it, you don't like it, but we have to understand that it's got its place as well. Yeah. So yeah, Manish bhai.
Thank you, Vijay Bhai. Yes, Sitaben, wonderful answer there. We stay with Ali Sebastian for this follow-up question. And again, she noticed in the Swaminarayan temple that all the prayers were in Gujarati. And this raises an interesting question. If you, are born in England and English is your first language, how do you relate to all these temple rituals and stuff where Sanskrit come in and Gujarati and Hindi bhajans come in? And those who do not understand or do not come with that upbringing of those languages, how can they relate to it? And isn't the language again a barrier in terms of people, practicing Sanatana Dharma? Vijay?
I absolutely agree with you, Ali, that there's no doubt there's a big disjoint here. And I've actually talked to the monks many times. I said, get some monks. I think there are now some monks who can speak English. I mean, I have difficulty taking my children to the mandir. They go, we sit there, he speaks in Gujarati and, Sanskrit verses. We have no clue. We are so bored, right? So that is something I think a lot of traditions in India, in UK especially, have to work on that. And I think language should not be a barrier. I mean, I know there are some really die-hard traditions who say, no, you can't really say these prayers in English, so you must in Gujarati. I think that's something we have to let go now. The fact is that in many places, English is spoken. I mean, I love Gujarati poetry, I love Sanskrit, but the fact is that a lot of younger generations do struggle. And that's a gap I think a lot of monks have to fill in. I know we have some sessions in my local temple every Wednesday. They do only English religious sessions in the evenings for young children. But I think we'll have to take this a bit forward. But point taken, this is a big kind of barrier at the moment for the modern young children. Sita, your views on this?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's something that, it's a real gap that we do need to fill, especially because, we're not just in India speaking Indian languages anymore. We are a diaspora. We're all over the world. And English is the first language for the vast majority of children and young people these days. So it's incredibly important to make it accessible, make it really sort of, something that they really want to attend, because if it's something they can't really understand, then it's going to sort of drive them away from it. So I think maybe that's the benefit of the work of the Hindu Academy, is we do everything in English. Our courses in English, all of our dad's lectures and everything are all in English. So we try and make it as accessible as possible, really. I mean, there is a beauty to the ancient languages like Sanskrit and our native languages like Gujarati. There is a beauty to it, but we need to strike the right balance and make sure that we incorporate enough English as well.
Wonderful, yes. And I remember some of the, we used to do some verses like Gayatri Mantra to start with, and we would have the translation. And I think it'd be good to have a poetic version in English of these things, which can be sung or said nicely. That way people will connect more, hopefully. We take a next question from Charmaine. She's saying, isn't the reason for fasting to eat is to eat sattvic meals, not to waste energy on digesting heavy meals, so energy can be channeled up the spine to raise energy, to higher chakras, to raise consciousness? So that's an interesting idea, Vijay Bhai. What do you say to that?
No, actually, it's true. I mean, just think about your own self for one moment. When you eat heavy meals, like full load of ghee and oil, you feel so lethargic and you feel like so, like dull and you want to sleep for hours, right? So that is very true. And that of course affects your positive energy. Your body is so working so hard to digest food. Yeah, all the energy is channeled to your stomach or to your intestines to work hard. So of course, eating right kind of foods. I mean, it's not only me saying, any doctor will eat right kind of foods can make a huge difference to your body. As I said, since I've given up oil, I've got a lot more energy. I can feel it. I can feel so much energy in my body. Yeah. So of course, the foods you eat makes, and so I guess there's a reason for that. Also, the energy we have is going to be more positive energy, no doubt. Yeah. I mean, there's a saying that if you eat rajasic foods or if you eat tamasic foods, they kind of affect your mind in a negative manner. Anger, desire, those things kind of pop up. Eating sattvic foods, it's like foods that like lighter or more, I don't know, whatever you call it, they're much better for you. So I have no doubt that they actually help you in a positive feeling, get you in a positive frame of mind, and perhaps also make you more spiritual, I guess. So there's a indirect link to that sense. But again, we have to be very careful not to judge people with all the different kinds of food that people eat. Everybody's developing in their own way. I mean, for me, I would try and fast the whole day. For someone said, no, only give up grain. For someone said, no, only give up meat. So depending on which level you are, you say different things. But I think we all working towards the same goal, to have healthy bodies, have a discipline, fasting, all that to make us more spiritual. Sita?
Yeah, I completely agree. So, I mean, usually you find that the healthier foods tend to be more sattvic, like fresh fruits and vegetables and that kind of thing. So you're naturally sort of drawn to eating those kinds of foods when you're choosing to fast. And also, I think another really important part is that when you're preparing food for yourself or your family during a time of fasting, you also have God in the back of your mind while you're preparing that food, because you're saying, I'm doing this because I'm fasting for this particular festival. So God is in the back of your mind when you are preparing that food even. So I'm sure that also has some kind of a benefit to you physically and mentally, emotionally as well. So it's wonderful to incorporate the idea of spirituality and God into the whole meal preparation process as well.
That's wonderful to hear. Take a next question from S. Maheswar Rao. He's saying, sir, can you please explain about types of karmas and how it is applicable in time or yug? Vijay bhai?
Okay, so I think we do cover this actually part of our syllabus. Karma is quite a big topic. But I mean, there are many different views just to keep in mind. But by and large, I think there's three main types. I think there's Prarabdha karma, there's Kriyavan karma, and there is one other one. I can't remember now. There's three karmas. Yeah. Sorry, Sanchit karma. That's the one. Yeah. So I think I think Prarabdha, I believe, is the one that's matured. Because you don't have karma for a while, and now we're getting the fruits of it. There's Kriyavan karma, I think which you do, then you get in the future. And Sanchit, that some of them are stored. The karma you build up, and sometimes they come to fruition. But there are very many views on that. Because karma is a very big, is one of the basis of Hinduism. So it's a huge topic. So we have many different views on that, I guess. Yeah. We won't have time to cover all those here, but it's quite a big topic. Sita?
Yeah, I think you've covered it amazingly. So there's, the past, present, and future, basically, the karmas. And all we have to do is try and, it sounds very sort of cheesy, but try and live in the moment and focus on whatever you're doing at this particular moment. Try and make it as productive and beneficial as possible, and that will help you along the way. And the wonderful thing about karma is it will accumulate. So the more sort of positive and beneficial practices that you develop will start to sort of mold your character and really have a positive benefit long term.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sita and Vijay. We take the next question from Oli Mikato. He's saying, what do you recommend for people living in Western thinking and living countries who bombard you with desires to consume every minute of the day? So what do you recommend for people living in Western thinking and living countries who bombard you with desires to consume every minute of the day? I'm not sure if I got the question correctly. Sita?
I believe the question would be about materialism. You know, that when we are in the Western country, this is something Jeba used to talk about all the time, that how you get bombarded from every left, right, and center to buy this, buy that, or if you got one car, then you got to have two cars.
Yeah, that's correct. Exactly. I mean, it's something that's part of the sort of commercial world that we're living in. We are constantly told that whatever we currently have is just never good enough. If you have this iPhone, you have to get the latest one a year later down the line. If you have this, you have to get the latest model. And you just are never satisfied. And I think it's one of those things that sometimes you have to go through the process of, you know, chasing after your material goals. There's nothing wrong with that. But then you will reach a sort of level of maturity at some point in your life. You will say, well, I've got this latest high-tech gadget and it's really not improved my level of happiness whatsoever. Or I have a level of happiness, but now it's gone back to what it was before. And now I'm looking for the next kick or the next exciting thing to look for. And it just never ends. And we end up accumulating more and more material goods and feeling less and less happy. So I think it's one of those things. Sometimes we have to go through the root of it, just go through it and see that actually that happiness level happens for maybe a little bit, but then it fizzes out completely. So we have to make sure that we reach that level of maturity, and it's not something that somebody can teach you. It's something that has to come from within you. So it's all very well and good telling our children, don't be materialistic and don't chase after all these lovely materialistic things. Let them realize for themselves that they may have stacks and stacks of things, but then ultimately their level of happiness hasn't really particularly improved as a result of having all of these things. And yeah, you just have to have that maturity. And then when you start seeing all of these bombardments of adverts and this and that, you'll just smile. You'll say, I don't need that. That's not going to improve my level of happiness. But it's not something that can be preached. You know, you don't wag your finger to somebody about it. It has to come from within you. And that's when your spiritual journey starts, because you look for a more permanent source of happiness, not something that's just a temporary fizz, something that's much more permanent. And that permanency comes from a non-material sort of angle, essentially, where, you know, you connect with your fellow human being. The level of happiness you get from that is so much greater than the happiness you get from acquiring some material goods. Vijay Bhai?
And Sita, you got it pretty brilliantly. All I can add is, you know, it reminds me of these two words. We have something called prayers and shreyas. There's one which, you know, you want desires to fulfill immediately, but it doesn't last. You want to do something that actually gives you, you know, something more lasting, which is obviously your divinity and, you know, more to spirituality. That's the ultimate happiness, I guess. But yes, what Sita said is very true. I mean, it happens to, I tried for 1 month not to buy anything on Amazon, anything in the shops, you know, just absolutely necessary. And it felt really good, but I can't keep it up for some reason. I think I'm also stuck in this big material kind of game. But if you try it out 1 month, say, look, I will not buy anything at all. I want my credit card to have zero, you know, money spending. Try it and see what happens. If you can achieve that, you'll feel really good about it. But it's hard to keep up. I guess you have to go through the process Sita mentions. That's all I can add to that, Buddhist way.
Wonderful. I think when you're buying something, actually ask that question, do I really need this? And surprisingly, many times the answer would be no, I can do without it. So that is the trick, I think. We have a question from, an interesting question from Donald Trump. He's asked, is it true that spiritual enlightenment starts with Dvaita at first and then resisted Advaita, and secondly and finally leads to Advaita? Does it happen in that stages? Sita Bin, any ideas?
So for some people, yes, it would be like that, but it's incredibly personal. So for some people, the idea of Dvaita is not something that they find particularly attractive. For them, it might just be, I want to focus on the idea of Advaita straight away. I just want to serve my fellow human being. I want to see divinity in everyone around me. For them, they've kind of hit the jackpot in that way. For somebody else, hitting the jackpot involves developing a relationship of love with a particular deity like Ram or Krishna or whoever it is. And then actually what you find is, you know, they sound like diametrically opposed pathways. You know, one is, you know, completely not focused on a personality and one is. They sound completely contradictory, but actually what you find is the path of Dvaita involves, the culmination of that is where you can no longer see yourself as being separate to the object of your love. And that's why I really love that image of Hanuman, where, you know, Ram is his ideal, it's his love, it's his whole life. And actually, you know, he's looking out at Ram, but actually when he opens up his chest, there is the image of Ram inside. So ultimately the conclusion of Dvait turns into Advait. So this sort of not personality based, but principle based. And actually, if you think about it from a sort of philosophical angle, the Advait perspective offers a very philosophically sound sort of reason as to, you know, why the world is the way it is, why is there suffering, why is there all of this sort of issues going on in the world. And if you look to an all compassionate, all loving God, it just is not able to address all of these questions. But the idea of it being principle based means that this is how the cookie crumbles, and we don't have to blame a God in the sky. It's actually us. We are the spirit. So if you see something wrong, do something about it, because you are God, you are spirits at the end of the day. Vijay Bhai?
I think Sita has got it beautifully. I mean, it is true, by the way, that many Hindus, even a lot of acharyas, scholars would say that the journey is Dvait first, then Vishishta Dvait, and then Advait. But by and large, I think even in the Dvait tradition, as Sita mentioned, there's I mean, at least for my tradition, the ultimate aim when you achieve moksha is actually you're so focused on God, there's nothing else left in your mind. You're basically almost like merged in God. You see God and nothing else. And that point, when you have this constant fixation and nothing comes in your mind, one pointedness, that is moksha. So in a way, as Sita mentioned, you are actually merged into God. So it may look different from the way you present it. It's just a metaphor. It's just play with words. Ultimately, it's similar. But I think one thing just to mention here is that because the word Advait is what comes up in the Upanishads, so we can go as this Vishisht Advait, Shuddh Advait. Then they may twist the word Advait to mean Dvait. Even Madhava, who actually proposed Advait, what he actually says is that I know the word Advait is used in the scriptures, but actually it means Dvait. So they can't get away from the word Advait. Advait is the true word in the Upanishads. So, but that's the trick. So like Vishishdvait, you know, Ramanuja goes, it is Advait, but Sharir, you know, one whole body is Advait. But inside that body, you can have a lot of things. So the word Advait, you can't get away. It's a very powerful word, just to keep in mind. But I think, as I said, many scholars believe in that. But by and large, if you look very closely, ultimately they are very similar. Yeah. So keep that in mind. Yeah.
Brilliant. So folks, where does the time go? We're at the top of the hour for today, and we must bring this to a close. Before I wrap it up for today, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's contributed so very well into the broadcast for today. I wanted to share a couple of resources. We had a few new people on the group. Somebody was asking about our resources, and I'm going to share them with you. We have our Hindu Academy Facebook page, which is where we stream live. We've got our Hindu Academy Twitter account, which is growing nicely. If you haven't followed us on Twitter, please do consider doing so. We have our YouTube channel on Hindu Academy over at YouTube. And I'm pleased to say we recently celebrated reaching 100,000 subscribers, and we're growing steadily. So we're at 110,000. And my next goal is to get us to 10 million views, which we are not very far away from as well. So with your help and support, please do share the channel contents, and we will get there very soon. We also have a website at Hindu-Academy where you can enroll in the free e-learning course here. You can also get the e-books for Hinduism here and here. And when you go to the e-learning course, this is one of the courses is the basics of Hinduism. And you can see over 8,000 students are now enrolled in it. And the question I was asked was how to enroll in it. So you just click this button, sign up, it's free. And the second question I was asked is how to do the exam. So that we have a quiz with 100 questions, which you will get at the very end of the course. You're welcome to take that. And if you want to talk about the GCSE Hinduism exams, then you will have to check in with your local examination center. And I know it is offered in various countries around the world, but you do need to figure out your local exam center and enroll over there. And at the very end, I'd like to finish today's session with a quote from Swami Vivekananda. The quote goes like this: "See for the highest, aim at the highest, and you shall reach the highest." So with that, I hope I've inspired you all to have a great week ahead. And me and the team will look forward to seeing you all next week on Saturday, 2 o'clock UK time as always. Bye-bye for now. You've been a great audience.
Bye.